Welcome to Recovering Hope. My name is Markley, and I'm here to share stories of hope, of recovery, and some experiences many have had that ended up as a tragedy. In all these scenarios, we have and will continue to learn from people from all walks of life, from all over our great country. Drug addiction, drug abuse, and drug poisonings are all too common, and attention needs to be given to the resources that are available to you no matter where you live. That is our mission. Recovering Hope is a division of Prodigal Recovery, which is a local group home for men here in Wilmington, North Carolina. Prodigal Recovery is a nonprofit 501c3 corporation. If you would like to help support our efforts with a tax-deductible donation or become a sponsor of this program, please contact us at prodigalrecovery.org. You can also call anonymously 910-338-3795.
I raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemies. I raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief.
And good evening. Welcome to Recovering Hope. My name is Markley, and a pleasure to be with you here again this Wednesday evening in the Port City. Hope you're doing well this evening. And as I said in the intro there, we are here to do our best to help you or someone that you may know and love to fight this battle of addiction wherever you are placed in that battle. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, and that's why I'm here. That's why I've been here for the past 10 months every Wednesday, and I have no end in sight of doing that because we are here for you. It is my passion and my pleasure to truly help you know that there's hope and resources for you or for someone that you know that might be struggling with addiction. If you'd like to get in touch with me for anything whatsoever, I don't have all the answers, but I'm a resourceful kind of guy, and I can probably point you in the right direction. The website is recoveringhope.org. If you're watching on Facebook, you can see that there. That's now on the screen. Phone number, 910-338-3795, 338-3795. Please do not hesitate to call if you have any questions or concerns. The past few weeks, we've been ringing the bell to honor those who have lost the battle to addiction, because sadly, with recent statistics, it is approximately every 5 to 6 minutes that somebody has lost that battle. So you'll be hearing the bell ringing during the program, and maybe say a prayer or just remember that this is a tough battle. People are dying. People are dropping dead. And we want to reduce the frequency that bell rings as this program progresses. Shout out to my friend Derek. Derek, I tried setting up a visit to see you this Saturday. I was trying to surprise you for your birthday, which is Monday. So look, happy birthday, man. But I was unable to get through both times. But I did get a letter in the mail today to you, as well as some pictures that you've been asking for. So you'll see the biggest catfish I ever caught in the mail. Also happens to be the only catfish I ever caught. All right, something real quick here. I have a lot to go through here today. We have a very special guest this evening, Derek Maltz. I will properly introduce him right after the first break here, but he was the special agent in charge of the United States Department of Justice Drug Enforcement Administration Special Operations Division. This guy's been on the front lines. He knows what's happening. It's going to be a very informative program, and I'm very thankful for his ability and time and willingness to do this. But just real quick, this was a note I got from our friend Ed Bish. I mentioned Ed quite a bit on this program as well. And he said he got this note from someone in recovery. Remember, without the architects of the opioid epidemic, this would not be happening, this being this battle on drugs. And he's referring to Purdue Pharma. They said, "Hi, Ed. I just wanted to keep in touch with you and share a chilling statistic that 7 out of 10 911 emergency calls are fentanyl related in the Bay Area that we have seen won the Stanley Cup, but losing the war on drugs. Take care, my friend. So 7 out of 10 911 calls are because of fentanyl, not just your ordinary, if you will, which is horrendous drug overdoses. These are fentanyl poisonings. There is a big difference. All right, I want to go through this quickly. Last week, we had a very special guest also, Deanna Allen. She's the founder of An Abundant Place, and I listened to the program again this evening and took some notes. I just want to give you the bullet points here. She had 10 years in active addiction. According to her, addiction is suicide on the installment plan. She suffered from complex PTSD, and she says trauma is very prevalent in those struggling with substance use disorder, SUD. If you know someone who is addicted, try to understand that. Regardless of what you see and hear on the outside, there's a human being there who's hurting. They don't want to be an addict or an outcast. So please, some of these are my words, but it doesn't matter. These people are human and they need help. She talked about the ACE test, the Adverse Childhood Experience Survey. This could help someone to prevent issues later in life and or perhaps explain what's happening and why. Don't blame yourself, whether you're the person who's suffering from addiction or maybe the parent. And this ACE test, if you just Google Adverse Childhood Experience, ACE, I found it this morning. I looked at it. It was interesting, some interesting questions, whether or not you grew up, in a safe, loving environment, or was there a lot of fighting, pain, yelling, different types of abuse. And by taking this test, you could perhaps, if given even to a young adult, you might be able to prevent some of the things that people experience, and drug addiction is only one of them. So like I said, Deanna is the founder of An Abundant Place. Deanna says that she was arrested by the Holy Spirit. She had been abused by everyone who told her that they loved her. Just let that sink in a minute. She was asked to describe her life in one word by someone years ago, and that one word was empty. God took her from empty to abundant. As she was finishing up one of her books, she was getting to the dedication page, and I think this might have been the day she was about to finish the book. She got a call that her brother hung himself in San Quentin prison. As a result, the Abundant Place became a prison ministry, and she has worked tirelessly to help those like my friend Derek and many others who are incarcerated and need help. They need guidance. They need direction to change that cycle that some of them have had in their lives for many years. Deanna was raped by her father for the first time at the age of 11. After that, she considered herself damaged goods and didn't respect her body. At one point, she was literally ready to kill her father. She said she learned how to use his .30-06, and she felt that, let me read what I said. Deanna is by no means the only person who became addicted to drugs as a result of trauma in her life. Please try to understand that when dealing with someone you may know or come across that has an addiction. But she told herself that if he tries to touch me again, that she was going to kill him. And he tried to touch her again. And I believe all she had to do was get the gun out and say, not a good idea. And as far as I know, he left her alone. For those incarcerated, have a plan A, B, and C. And one thing that she had said, and again, this might seem real obvious, but okay, you've done some time, maybe a long stint in jail or a prison term for many months or many years in some cases. Who's picking you up? I mean, it just seems to make common sense. Okay, is my old buddy who I used to get high with and go and do this and that with going to come and pick me up and I think everything's going to be fine? No, give that another thought. There are a couple of ministries that she recommends. Alpha Reentry and Prison Fellowship are very helpful. And again, Derek, I think you're listening. I wrote that in the letter I sent to you today, but you can probably do some homework yourself. They may have literature in the prison to help you because, buddy, when you get out, I want you to do well. And here's that phone number again for you or others that are listening. Maybe you have a loved one that's locked up. This number is to help with a reentry plan. It's 562-375-4433. I'll repeat it, 562-375-4433. And, Deanna is just such a, I mean, if you heard last week, if not, it's on the podcast. You can go to recoveringhope.org/radio. Yael, the webmaster here at the station, and for myself, does a great job with these things. Podcasts are numbered and dated, and the guests that we have spoken to are listed there. I'd recommend go back and take a look. And not just Deanna's, but there are so many that have really been, I think, very, very helpful. And I still struggle with what is the best way to get this out there. We're doing a couple of things new here at the studio to help get this message, to reach other people because I want it to make a difference. I want to help people. Next week, we're going to be hearing from a gentleman named Jimmy Peretta. Jimmy is also one of too many people who have lost a loved one to a fentanyl drug poisoning. And part of his story is just so heart-wrenching. And he's done so much to help others, as so many others have. The things that I'm doing here, look, this is a lot of time, it's a lot of work, but it's nothing compared to what so many people have done and continue to do in this battle. We're also going to hear next week, I wanted to give Ed Bish a little time to give us an update on the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy scam. And I know it's a little bit early to have a break. This bell doesn't work so good. But we're going to take our first one here, and then we're going to get Derek Maltz on the phone. And stay tuned for a very interesting rest of the program. And welcome back to Recovering Hope. My name is Markley. Pleasure again to be with you here this evening. And we are on the line, I believe, with Mr. Derek Maltz. Hello, Derek. Are you there, sir? Derek going once? Derek going twice. Okay, well, I can read a couple of pages that I have about Derek, but maybe there's a little phone connection here. We got him now? Derek, you there?
Yes, how are you, Mark?
Okay, there you are. I was ready to hang up and just read my notes about your about what you're doing. Well, look, I really thank you for taking the time this evening, to do this. And where are you, up in Virginia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, I'm just going to read a short paragraph to let people know a little bit about you. Derek Maltz was the special agent in charge of the United States Department of Justice, Drug Enforcement Administration, Special Operations Division from May 2005 to July 2014 in Chantilly, Virginia. Mr. Maltz previously held the position of the Associate Special Agent in charge of the New York Drug Enforcement Task. Special Agent in charge holds a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Syracuse University, is married and has 3 children. And, when I reread that again today, Derek, I mean, these are impressive credentials. And I don't mean to, just pat you on the back, but you deserve it. But when I read it, I have underlined here, in charge of the New York Drug Enforcement Task Force. My gosh, that by itself is an astounding position and responsibility.
So, Mark, thank you very much, and appreciate inviting me to the show.
Yeah.
So one interesting note about that is my father was a 30-year veteran of the DEA, and he held the position of the chief of that task force for 11 years, and I ultimately got his job and sat in his old office.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of cool inside the family, yeah.
Wow, nice. And as we had our pre-interview the other day, you and I hail from the same part of Long Island. You said you were from the Huntington area. Which part?
So I grew up in the town of Huntington. I went to the Half Isle Hills School District, and I lived there my whole life, actually, before I went into the DEA and moved around and moved down to Virginia.
And when did you move out of Huntington?
So I moved out probably, I'm trying to remember now. It's been a long time. I think it was in 1999.
99. Okay, so we were in the
Yeah.
same town for 3 years. I moved out of Huntington in 96. So yeah, we were, well, you moved out in 99, so who the heck knows? We might have had coffee next to each other in Starbucks in town.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
no, it's a small world.
Yeah,
but-
it is. It is. Well, one thing I wanted to lead off with here, Derek, is something. I mean, you put up a lot of great information, and this is just something recently, and I think it was something that was reposted from the Safe Project, and it says, there was a number of things that had to be done in order, and I'm just taking the first two. First, we must raise public awareness. Well, that's why I'm here, of the true dimensions and nature of this disease in order to gain popular support for the measures required to defeat it. Such awareness will help overcome the epidemic's public enemy number one, the stigma. And number two, we need more focus on full spectrum prevention, which involves, among other actions, credible voices speaking candidly to the most vulnerable people. Well, my friend, you are one of those credible voices. So thank you for taking the position, the stance that you've done. Most people are doing, some of the things that you do because they have lost a loved one, and thankfully that's not your situation.
Right, but Mark, I'm not naive to understand the situation. It could be one of my three sons.
Yeah.
Because they're just like everybody else's kids, right? They're growing up under a lot of pressure. We had the COVID madness.
Mm-hmm.
We have, issues with college and getting jobs and family situations. And so everybody's vulnerable, and every family in America is vulnerable. And really what's scary these days is just the fact that the substances they're putting on the street now are going to kill you instantly.
Yes.
And that's really my concern.
Yeah.
The addiction crisis has been going on a long time.
Yeah.
And, quite frankly, the U.S. government has not done enough in the past to educate the families, the schools, the kids on the dangers of some of these drugs and stuff like that. So anything I could do to help bring awareness, that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. You mentioned COVID there, Derek, and I don't know if these are your words or mine or a combination of the two, but the truth is not being told. And I see a parallel to COVID here. There's also a connection to the increase in addiction and COVID as well as the same source. So we have fentanyl, COVID, both China. Now, I've been reading and studying. I think we probably both know that the United States was a little more involved in COVID than maybe some people would like to admit or believe. But I think there's a connection there too. But for all practical purposes, it seems to have come from Wuhan. Also, there are remedies for both that seem to be suppressed. There's a lot. There's
very
a lot.
Good point.
Yeah, there's a lot of remedies to drug addiction, and there are some very good remedies and protocols to avoid COVID or to get over it if you got it. But there's a single simple narrative that keeps on getting pushed, and I think that there is some kind of a connection there. I don't know what.
Right. Well, all I can tell you is when I was leading the Special Operations Division back in 2008, 2009, we started seeing lots of synthetic drugs, bath salts, K2 spice, synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic cathinones being sent to our country directly from Chinese labs in Wuhan and other cities along the rivers in China. And our kids were getting really, really addicted to some of these drugs. And there was a lot of issues, psychosis, respiratory failures, and we were having the unknown. All of a sudden we started seeing people in America dying because they were putting rat poison in these synthetic drugs, these liquid drugs that they were spraying on leaf material. And kids were smoking it, buying it in gas stations, convenience stores, bodegas. But the reality is China was the one producing those chemicals. And China's been producing the chemicals necessary to make methamphetamine for many, many years. They've been a source of supply for Mexican cartels. So now, fentanyl, my opinion, based on everything I know, it's a great way to destabilize America using the Mexican cartels to do the dirty work.
Right. And how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands have they killed between, and I'm just talking the past year, between COVID and fentanyl without firing a shot? And they made a huge profit in the process. right?
Yeah,
So
exactly, Mark.
yeah,
And Mark, I'm no communist expert, communist China expert.
yeah, me
I'm no
either.
Chinese expert.
Right.
But here's what I could tell you:
Mm.
the experts that I've talked to basically are confident that this is part of the unrestricted warfare. China goes after their adversaries using all tools in the toolbox without firing a shot, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so killing Americans without doing anything in America, like overtly, like dropping bombs or shooting people,
Right.
is a very good technique for them from their standpoint,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, since you brought up dropping bombs, this might be a stupid question, and I don't know if I read this somewhere else or if this is one of my crazy thoughts, but would it be an act of war for us to drop a bomb on some of these fentanyl factories in Mexico?
You know what, Mark? A really good question. So I've been a real outgoing spokesperson about declaring the cartels as terrorists.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I would do if I was commander in chief or I was the head of the DOD or the intel community,
Mm-hmm.
I would want to I'd get the intelligence on where all these production labs are.
Right.
And I know we have that kind of intelligence.
Yes.
Okay. And I would have drones and other type of air assaults on these production labs and destroy them
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
If you destroy the production of the poison, they can't kill our kids.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
So I don't consider it an act of war. I consider it staying focused on the major threat to our citizens in this country.
Mm. Yeah. Defensive action.
And that's what's missing. That's what's missing.
Yeah, yeah. And, when you look at the numbers years ago, I mean, it was all before 9/11, but after that, the bad guys, the terrorists were these mostly, but not limited to, Muslim nations and all the, the killings, the suicide bombings, but it pales in comparison to 93,000 last year alone.
Right. So, Mark, great point. You really you really understand this stuff. Thank you very much. I mean, it's a pleasure to talk to you. But Mark, here's the deal. If you look at 9/11, the catastrophic day on 9/11, 3,000 people died, right, in the catastrophe.
Right.
And then you look at the Iraq War and you look at the Afghan War over all these years.
Yes.
Roughly between those three things, 10,000 Americans died.
Right.
Roughly.
Right.
That's years, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not downplaying any of it.
No,
It's
I understand.
terrible.
I understand. But yeah, we're
last
trying.
Year alone, 1,000. It's not going to be 93,000. It's going to be way more than 93,000.
Yes.
Because the way they calculate the numbers is underreporting.
Yes, it's kind of like
how.
I was going to say, kind of like how they're counting the numbers of people that died of COVID. Somebody got shot, but they tested positive for COVID, so it's a COVID death. I know that's a little extreme, but I have heard that has happened. So,
No,
who's doing the
exactly.
counting? It's like with the votes. Who's doing the counting? Mm-hmm.
Exactly, Mark.
Oh,
and
boy.
So the thing is that my opinion is to keep it real simple to anybody that's just a simple person. It's like we have a chemical war going on right now.
Yes.
No one wants to say that.
Yeah.
But this poisonous fentanyl is such a very potent poison.
Yeah.
It's killing kids with just 2 milligrams, right?
Yeah, it can kill you if you touch it.
So Mark, the question is that if America knew there was 10 pounds of biological or chemical weapons sitting right across the border, what do you think America would do working with Mexico to go after that chemical weapon?
Right.
Right? We would go after it and we'd find it, we'd destroy it.
Annihilate
But now
it.
we have thousands of pounds of chemical weapons being produced every
Yeah.
day,
Mm.
dumped into our country and killing like we've never seen, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the amount of
So
weight
it's a simple little way.
I think I see here, and I'm not even sure where I got this stat, Derek, but you may know, 7,450 pounds was seized.
No. That's let me tell you where you're getting that from.
Okay.
So the CBP, they do a wonderful job at documenting, okay, the amount of fentanyl that's being seized and the other drugs at the border.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2021, the fiscal year, which is
Mm-hmm.
9 months because it starts October 1st, right?
Okay.
There has already been 8,507 pounds of fentanyl seized. In the month alone in June, there was 1,060 pounds.
Wow.
The July numbers haven't come out yet, okay? Last year, for the entire year, they seized 4,776 pounds.
Mm.
In 2018, it was only 2,283 pounds.
Mm.
So the amount of seizures are going up. But what the taxpayer really needs to be aware of, that think about what's getting in. Because
Exactly.
we only seize roughly 10%
Oh my
of
gosh.
what gets in.
Wow.
So think about it from that standpoint. And then look at other statistics that are more alarming. For an example, the Orange County Sheriff's Department just released last week that the overdose deaths related to fentanyl increased 1,067% from 2016 to 2020. There were 37 that died in 2016, and in 2020 there was 432 dead just in one county in California from fentanyl-related poisoning.
Wow.
Then, if you look at the DEA statistics from Phoenix, Arizona, in 2015 they seized 0 Mexican counterfeit OxyContin pills.
Yeah.
In 2020, they seized 6 million pills.
Yeah, I have that in my notes here. That's incredible.
Right. So think about that, and that gives the public an understanding of the volume of these poisonous pills and drugs that are in our country.
Yeah. This is something I when I did my opening, I'm not sure if you know Ed Bish. He's on top of this also.
Yes.
Somebody shared with him that in the Bay Area, chilling statistic that 7 out of 10 911 emergency calls are fentanyl related. 7 out of 10.
No doubt about it. I believe that.
My gosh.
And we're not getting a lot of information. Plus, just keep in mind, I know you're aware of this, but thank God for Narcan, because Narcan is actually saving a lot of lives every day.
Yeah.
So the statistics would be a lot higher.
Yeah. Well, speaking of lives, if you hear this bell, I'm trying to do that every 5 minutes because with that 93,000, I did the math. It's about every 5 to 6 minutes that somebody dies. So the last few shows, I've been ringing that bell as a reminder, and I'm hoping and praying that as I progress with this program, that frequency will get much greater reduced as time goes by. But Derek, with you being, doing what you've been doing, the things that go on that you probably are not even at liberty to say. But what would you say are some effective strategies that you found? Because like I said when we spoke the other day, I want action. I want to do things. I'm not here to be popular, to be a guy on the radio, and I want to see a difference made. What do you see as some effective strategies in this war?
Okay, so first of all, like in 2005, when I got to the SOD operation, there were 9 agencies there. When I left, there were 30, include 3 countries and also the NYPD.
Wow.
The reason I bring that up is that in this world that we live in, the crime and the bad guys and the terrorists, they're coming together. They're converging, right? They're utilizing each other's capabilities and smuggling and money laundering operations. So the good guys got to come together, and it's got to be accountability.
Yeah.
So if we say the Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco New Generation cartel are the biggest threats to our national security because of the fentanyl, then we got to take the best and brightest in the government from not only law enforcement, but from the intel community, Department of Defense. We have to label the cartels as the #1 threat to the country and go after them like they've never been gone after in their lives. And I know firsthand experience, we have some very good American patriots with really good capabilities out there and good authorities, legal authorities, to put this together. So you don't have to be a genius to put together a task force and demand action from the leader and measure and have monthly status updates on what are we doing to make a difference. So that's #1. But there's very, very simple approach. Why are kids dying right now? Taking poison that's made and most likely in the labs in Mexico.
Right.
Yeah, there's still some coming directly from China, but the majority is coming from the Mexican labs. Now, that means we go find the labs and we destroy them. To do with our capabilities. Then with the money laundering, the money is going back to the cartels.
Right.
So we stop the flow of the money going back so they don't get very rich and have resources.
Yeah.
So if you shut down the chemicals, you shut down the money flow, and you also put the pressure on China to regulate the precursor chemicals that are leaving China every day in the ton quantities going to Mexico so they can make the meth, they can make the fentanyl, if we put the pressure on China and really be aggressive, we can make a big impact just with a couple of those things right off the bat.
Do you see that there's a decent likelihood of that happening? And again, as we've spoken, this is not a political issue. It's not red or blue. It's red, white, and blue. But do you think that this administration might be going in that direction? I forget who it is that's heading up the White House Drug Policy Council now. I think you mentioned him the other day. I forget their name, but do you see that?
I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So putting all the politics aside, because remember, I've watched this evolve since the days of President Obama, and I'm not blaming President Obama because it evolved even with President Bush, and then through Trump, and now the current administration, right?
Yep.
Everybody has there's some blood on everybody's hand. Let's put it that way, right?
Right.
But to be fair, like let me be very fair here for a second.
Sure.
Joe Biden started January, right?
Started what?
The statistics. He started his job in January as the president.
Right.
Statistics that we keep referring to are all statistics from the previous year. He wasn't even in office.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fairness to Biden and the administration,
good.
They have an opportunity to do something if they want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're going to do, but you know what's a bad sign? A bad sign is they're not even telling the public the emergency situation we have right now from the cartels, and the public has been misinformed because the majority of the public think we still have the 2010 and 15 opioid addiction issues, which we do, by the way.
Right. Oh, we do. And that's bad enough. Yeah, that's bad enough by itself. Yeah.
Right. So that's fine that they're talking about that and they're putting resources toward that. I'm all in favor of resources and press announcements on the overall opioid situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 100% in support. So in that sense, they seem to be saying the right things right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing is that right now there's been guidance coming out of the DOJ not even to mention the Mexican cartels in the press guidance to the agencies.
Uh-huh.
So why is that happening? Because they don't want to tie this crisis to the cartels and the open border policy.
Open borders, yep.
And that is where it becomes very political.
Yes.
So you can't avoid the politics on this, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Well,
but at the end of the day, the kids are dying at record levels.
Yeah, that's right. And you've been a very strong and frequent voice on Fox News. I seem to see you about every other time I tune in, which is great. I mean, somebody's got to bring this to people's attention. And you see some of the anchors. I don't watch many other news stations. That's just me. But it does seem to be getting more and more attention. It can't help but get more attention.
Well, I can tell you right now, on Fox, on Newsmax, on OANN, they are now doing a lot of work to help get the awareness out. Like one of the family members, I helped get her on the show. She did a phenomenal job, Virginia Krieger. Telling her story.
Yep.
And I was very proud of her to have the courage to tell her story about our beautiful daughter, Tiffany.
Right.
But here's the thing. I want CNN, I want MSNBC, I want 60 Minutes, I want NBC, because we're in this together.
Exactly.
It's not about the conservative news stories covering it. Everybody should be covering it.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could all get along, like Rodney King said? I mean, this is a common thing. It's not, I know people, in this business, the drug recovery business, that allow politics and or faith stand in the way to get involved. But if you saw a guy on the side of the street, or if I saw a guy, that needed help, whether it was drug related or not, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, buddy. Let me see do you have a Republican card or a Democrat card?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you go to church? No, you help people that need it.
Well, you know what, Mark? That's another great point. So as a law enforcement executive who spent a lot of time with law enforcement my entire life, adult life, I don't know of one cop that ever said when they go out on the street, is he a Republican or a Democrat to help?
Right.
They're going to go out and help any citizen that needs help. That's what they do.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Second thing is, in this area, in my experience, I make photo collages every day from the family members that send me their dead kids and their dead young Americans and family members.
Yeah, I've
seen
them.
To try to bring awareness. I'm up to 19 collages now.
Wow.
But never do I ever say, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Did you vote for Mr. Biden or did you vote for Trump?" Oh, you're a
Wow.
Biden guy? No, I'm not going to add your
Yeah.
kid to the
Right.
collage.
Right. And how many pictures are on one collage, Derek?
Each collage has 90 kids. So right now
Oh my
we have,
gosh.
do the math, 19 times 90, and then I'm almost done with 20. So we're talking about 1,800 kids already.
Wow.
But Mark, here's the problem.
Mm.
I'm doing this by myself. I can't
Yeah.
keep up with the massive flow of photos.
Wow. Yeah, I see that on Facebook
That's
a
the
lot.
problem.
People, you send you another one. And where are these? Where can people see these, Derek? So that
Well, I mean, I post a lot of this. It's on the Facebook groups like Lost Voices of Fentanyl,
Right.
Fentanyl Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
But I have like a PDF that I made, and I've been sending them out to everybody that wants them. They're asking me, Mr. Maltz, what am I owe you for this? How much money? I wouldn't take a dime for any of this stuff.
Yeah,
We're about
good.
helping people save lives.
Mm.
And so I will send my PDF to anybody that wants it.
Nice. And what would be the best way to contact you? Through Facebook?
Well, through the Facebook,
Okay.
instant message, send
Okay.
a message, and then I'll get your email and I'll send it to whoever wants it.
Nice.
You could send me a message. I get messages every single day. I'm trying to catch up with the
Oh,
messages.
I'm sure you do.
Sending families.
Yeah.
It's really, really getting intense, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Keeps me busy,
Yeah.
and I like helping people, so I'll continue to do it.
Mhm. One thing I was going to say before when you were talking about, you named the actual cartels, for the most part, they have access to and are using the very same technological, electronic equipment for communicating that we have. And,
Well,
I think it used to be the military
hold on a
had an
second.
advantage.
Well, hold on a second. That's another great point. You really did your homework.
I try.
Not only are they using the same communication equipment that we have, but here's what the public doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
The laws are so antiquated in America that all these encrypted apps that are being pushed out on the internet every day,
Mm-hmm.
that are being used by a lot of us, including myself,
Mm-hmm.
for secure communications.
Right.
The bad guys are using them to advance their radical agenda.
Right.
And terrorists are using them.
Right.
Here's the problem. Based on the technologies, U.S. law enforcement has no ability through a court order process to get the content and listen to these or read these things that
Oh,
are going
come on.
on because, no, you don't. You're out. We're in
Wow.
the dark.
Wow.
Going dark has been going on. I was the lead spokesperson for DOJ back in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
We started this as technology evolved.
Wow.
But because our Congress has got cobwebs in their ears and their eyes, and they don't pay attention to anything but themselves and their
Right.
pocketbooks
Yeah.
and their wallets and their bank accounts,
Mhm.
they're not paying attention to the advancement of technology. So the bad
Yeah.
guys are way ahead, and they're taking the strategic advantage, and that's why we're also losing a handle on the networks that are responsible for dumping the poison in our country.
Man, man.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
another whole
but it's
show
okay
you
to
could do.
eavesdrop on you and me, but let's not get the information that helps.
Right, like
Boy.
listen to Tucker Carlson and steal his emails.
Right, I was going to
as he
say
tried
that.
to do
Yeah,
his investigative work.
yeah. I think you had said something
So-
in something I read about the cells that are developing, in the United States, and I'm talking
God, yeah.
drug related. I mean, tell us about that, Derek. What you know about that?
So basically, many years ago, like the Colombian cartels, when they were pumping cocaine into our country, they set up very sophisticated, distribution cells and money laundering cells. We call it cells. It's just their confidants and their operational people are set up in the major cities. So like back in the day, it was like Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, Houston, and New York, right?
Right.
Those were the 5 hubs of the cartel.
Uh-huh.
But the cartels, over the years, we did such a good job identifying them and extraditing them. They turned over a lot of their business, or all of their business, to the Mexican cartels, right?
Mhm.
So the cartels now have set up very similar structures in America. So they have people set up in, almost every, I would say it like this. They are set up in, let's say, I'll just give you an idea. Los Angeles, San Diego, Seattle, they're set up all over Texas, El Paso, Dallas, Phoenix, Arizona, Houston, Texas. And then they send all their stuff to St. Louis, to Chicago, to, Midwest cities. And then they use the transportation highways. They go to New York, they go to New England, Atlanta, Georgia, goes down to Miami. And then what happens is they use the gangs in all the cities all over America to distribute all this stuff. And then they do their money collections, advanced, sophisticated collections of money. They're using the Chinese now to do their money laundering services in their money laundering, which is another story for another day.
Right.
But very sophisticated movement of money around the world to get the money back to the cartels in Mexico. And so they have a presence everywhere in America. Nowhere in America right now, in my opinion, that has drugs on the streets. The cartels are there. You may not see them. They may not have like a stash house in your community, but they have access through their networks and their transporters to get the dope into the cities everywhere. The entire America is saturated.
Wow.
And now with the open borders, the cartels can get more and more people in here. So when they get a few arrested, a few get killed, whatever the case may be, they have replacements already in place here.
Wow.
Succession planning.
Wow. Man, oh, man. School programs. I think that this is something very important to start educating, school children, even sad to say in elementary school. They shouldn't even have to hear about this stuff, but they need the education. What can you tell us about that? Or maybe what can we do as a community? Pretty much the same in any community, I guess. I know there are people that do.
Any community, the community should be outraged right now if they pay attention to what's really going on with the deaths in America. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the country.
Yeah.
They should be writing the school boards. They should be demanding, hey, if the schools could teach critical race theory in our schools,
right,
why can't they teach drug education where it's impacting our kids and our families directly, right?
Yeah.
And so the parents, instead of getting outraged about all this stuff, get involved with important things that mean something right now. Save lives, go out, raise hell to the school board in a professional manner, and get them to put, training and bring law enforcement in, bring mental health, bring medical professionals, whoever you got to bring in to tell them what's going on. Show them the counterfeit pills. Show them how, because a lot of kids now, like in high school, for example, they say, you know what, I don't want to use a pill because I read in the stories that the pills may kill you. One pill can kill. Well, what the kids are doing is they go in the back and they snort a line of cocaine. Well, guess what? The cartels are putting fentanyl in the cocaine and it's killing at record levels too.
I wonder how good it would be to bring a casket with somebody in it into the auditoriums.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps someone that they know,
that
their
will
age.
get their attention.
Yeah. Impact, make a difference. And,
So,
I can't.
Mark, it's funny you say that. I just made a little collage. I don't know if you saw it yet. I'll send it to you. So I made a collage because April Babcock, who basically gave me the approval to use it. I have a collage that I made where I showed the progression of life of her son.
Oh, wow.
I showed her and him hugging together.
Oh, wow.
That led to a graduation photo. And the next photo is him in the funeral parlor, laying in his coffin.
Oh, wow.
And that is something I put out all over social media. I actually made a video in his memory, and I'm going to send it to you right now. So you have it.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
And on top of it says fentanyl poisoning deaths. And it shows how the cartels are involved. And 25-year-old Austin Babcock is no longer with us. He had a beautiful family, beautiful life ahead of him, and then he's in the box. He's in the coffin, sitting there in the funeral home.
Wow.
It's all there. You take a look at it, you'll see it.
Yeah, it was only, I think, 2 weeks after I started this program last October that a friend of mine, a friend of my son's, and I've known this young man, too, for many years, died of an overdose. And I do believe it was tracked back to fentanyl. And it was the first funeral I went to, open casket, as a result of a drug poisoning. And I'll tell you, seeing his mom just rubbing his face, crying over that kid, and it's heart-wrenching. But so many people here, even people listening to this right now, okay, that's somebody else. It's a statistic. It's a story. No, these are real people. These are people that don't, if they have an addiction or had, they didn't want that. There's a person inside there that needs help, that's crying for help, but they're maybe too proud to ask, or they say, no, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, folks, as I've been advised and I've shared this, if you are ready, if you know somebody that has a problem, be ready for when they say, okay, I need help. Have that action plan in place, put together, ready to go. Don't start the process when they say, okay, mom or dad, I need help, or whatever it is. Having that action plan ready is crucial, I think. I know my wife had one ready
Right.
for my son, and thank God she did, because to this
Well,
day he's doing well.
congratulations on your great work too, by the way, Mark,
Well,
for what
thank
you've
you.
done.
Thank you.
I really was inspired to hear that story, because there is hope. You just have to work at it, and you have
That's
to
right.
be patient. And you also have to recognize, everybody that's listening has to recognize that everyone, including me, is vulnerable with
Yes.
the kids today and the pressures.
Yeah.
It's not, the stigma's got to go away. It's not
Yeah.
somebody shooting up in the alley
Right.
with 5% heroin in their arm. That's
Right.
not what's going on anymore.
Yeah. Don't think it can't happen in your house. I never thought it would happen in mine.
Right.
And
And I
sadly,
applaud your efforts in what you're doing.
well, thank you. It's it's something that I was just telling the manager here, Joe, before the show. I spend so much time doing this, but I enjoy it. It's satisfying to a degree. I've learned a tremendous amount speaking to people like yourself, and I just want to save people that pain, Derek. Not of a death. I didn't experience that, thank God. But just the pain of dealing with addiction in your home is one of, not the, but one of the worst things that you can deal with. The uncertainty, the gray areas. What do I do? Who can I talk to? And again, that's one reason I'm
Right.
here, because, I make this public. This is, you can talk to me. We have resources on our website. There's so many other professionals that I've spoken to in the recovery field. There's resources out there, and there's hope. As long as there's breath in their lungs, there's hope. And for those like Virginia and Mike and gosh, we could go on and on, that have lost loved ones, these people are really, putting the metal to the pedal, or however you want to say it. They're working so hard to prevent other tragedies, and I commend them for that.
Right.
They're the real heroes.
Exactly. And that's why, just so you know, that's what's inspired me to do what I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
as a hobby, as a side project,
Yeah.
because I have a full-time job, right?
Okay.
But I do this because those families desperately needed support, desperately
Right.
needed help to get their awareness to a new level.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, based on my access and my network, I could help them, and I was willing to do whatever I could
Yeah.
to help.
Yeah.
And we're actually making some progress, but we have so much work to do.
Yes, we
and we
do.
need more parents to get involved.
Yep.
We need to have a united force. We can't be divided. We can't put the politics in the middle.
Mm.
Everybody's entitled to their own political views. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to life and death, we got to save these kids, the future generation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I cringe at the thought of, and I mentioned this to you the other day. I was watching some video or something, but just, any group of young kids at a party, hanging out, high school, college. I mean, I can't imagine, and maybe it's just my warped mind, but a situation like that, if they're drinking, they're going to do it. I'm not condoning it, but it's going to happen. But that there's not drugs there. I think that this is really just the beginning of a major explosion. I hope I'm wrong. But, this stuff is relatively new, I think, as Michael Gray put it. This new paradigm began in like 2013-14 with the fentanyl, but it's still relatively new. And the pills that they're pressing, I speak about this often, but I know you know about this. These look-alike pills that look like, when you name the medication, Xanax, OxyContin, Percocet, yeah. There's so many that look
Valium.
like, yes, but you take one and they can kill you.
So on that note, and Mark, just to get you up to date on something, because I'm learning this stuff every day with my friends that work the cases.
Yeah.
So, back in the initial phases, like 2012, 13, 14, when China started bombarding us directly from China via the internet on the websites, and people were dying, and we started figuring it out. Then after pressure was put on them, they started shutting down a lot of that exploitation of the stuff, and they started sending the precursors to Mexico.
Yes.
But before they did that, they were sending the kilogram quantities to Mexico. But in the labs in Mexico, they're making the powder. But now what they're doing is not only are they making the counterfeit pills in Mexico and mixing the fentanyl with cocaine, heroin, and meth, here's what they're doing now. They're sending the powder fentanyl into America all over the place, and they're buying pill presses in America.
Right.
they're buying it on, on these websites. They're buying it
Yes.
from China, whatever.
Right.
They're making their own pills in the United States.
Yeah. I didn't want to give anybody any ideas, but somebody told me, a previous guest said, you can go online and buy a pill press to make it look like, different types of pills. You probably can change the dye and
Exactly.
Yeah. Boy,
They've
it's
done
nuts.
that, and they're doing that. And we're finding pill presses and dyes all over America in the DEA and these other agencies are seizing this stuff. And it's quite alarming, but it's the cartels behind all of it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Something that I've spoken about quite a bit, not so much recently, but months ago, and I think we touched on this the other day, the amount of money spent on this COVID epidemic, because by definition, I think COVID's an epidemic and drug addiction and drug poisonings are a pandemic. But the amount of money that's been spent on this COVID epidemic is approximately $65,000, depending on how many more trillions they're going to throw in it, for every man, woman, and child in this country. How much?
Wow.
How much goes to people that have been affected by a death or by drug addiction itself? Sometimes it breaks people's banks. They're in the poorhouse because whether it's they're used themselves or a mom or a dad or a grandmother, grandfather trying to put their son or daughter through rehab, and they go broke. Should there be some kind of compensation for that? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much money being wasted right now. In this government, the mismanagement of funds. Like, I'll give you a little side thing only because I want you to know this too.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like the root causes of what's going on at the border, and the vice president's going to go down and talk to the Central American leaders, and we're going to start coming up with billions and billions of dollars. But what nobody talks about, Mark, is like, for example, the president of Honduras' brother is in federal prison after being convicted in Southern District of New York for engaging with 185 tons of cocaine.
Wow.
And they were helping Chapo Guzman and securing loads coming through Central America to Mexico.
Wow.
I mean, this is what's going on. It's corrupt officials all throughout Central America, Mexico. It's a swamp of corruption, and we want to keep giving them more and more money instead of giving the people in America that are suffering. Their kids are dying.
Right.
The kids are addicted. They don't have any money. No one's taking patients without insurance anymore at some of this stuff. I know firsthand about that. Okay?
Yeah.
They don't want to take a patient into a certain location, so you got to pay cash out of pocket if you want to have some help for your kid. Meanwhile, we're spending billions and giving it to these corrupt officials in these countries, and the problem's getting worse.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned El Chapo. Something I heard a while back, and I forget where. I think it was a credible source. But apparently El Chapo's son got arrested maybe not too long ago, and there was a lot of violence that resulted. People were getting shot in the streets like, okay, we'll show you. You're going to mess with one of our big boys. Is that perhaps something that restricts that kind of activity from our, let's just call it police forces, because they're concerned about the retribution if we do come down on these guys?
Well, I could tell you firsthand because I was on Tucker Carlson that night when the story broke. When
Okay.
Chapo's kid was apprehended.
Maybe that's where I heard it.
He threatened, he and his cartel threatened to destroy a lot of the officials and just caused a lot of problems in the country. So they let him go because President AMLO has a policy known as hugs for thugs. Okay. My policy is let's keep the thugs, the bugs, and the drugs out of the country. Okay?
And give
that's
them a
where we
slug.
have to be more aggressive.
and,
that?
and give them a slug.
Yeah, give them a slug if needed, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is that, the cartels run the country, and the Mexican officials just rolled over because not only because of the violence, because of the payoffs that they get.
Yeah, the money. The money is really big. I mean, I can only imagine. But in every aspect of this dilemma, from the dealing of the drugs and then from the criminal side of it, the jails, the institutions, the prisons, the lawyers, the doctors, there's a lot of money to be made in the drug business and in the drug prevention business. So some people might not want this to get fixed. Hey, let me ask you real quick, Derek. I like to end.
You got it. That's a great point.
I like to end every show with a story of hope. Can you give us some hope and maybe a quick action plan that we can do?
Well, look, you could give a story of hope a lot better than I can. You have a firsthand story.
Oh, thanks.
And I can't. I'm amazed by it because what I heard from your story is amazing, and it's called perseverance, commitment, dedication to save a life, right?
Yeah.
And even if it's not your own, but like for me, I feel that with the parents that are out there that are actually educating, despite all the obstacles that we all have, educating the public and getting the public involved, we're saving lives every day. We just don't know it, right?
That's right.
We can't measure it.
Good point.
Measure it, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, good
There's
point.
a lot more kids that I've had parents call me, say, Mr. Maltz, I really appreciate it. I had a long talk with my kid tonight, and he was telling me about some of the stuff going on at school. So little things like that, to me, are very positive. The more and more parents that know about what's going on, the more hope we have, because those parents, most parents, the vast majority care so much about these kids in the future. They're going to engage. The problem, Mark, that we have right now, that parents don't know.
Yeah.
They don't understand this situation. They don't know everyone's vulnerable. So we got to make sure the message is delivered properly. This is not just opioid addiction. It's fentanyl poisoning.
That's right.
It's murder.
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
Murder on our kids.
Yeah, they don't know.
Start getting pissed off and get involved.
They don't know, and they don't think it will happen in their house. And let me tell you, it certainly can. Hey, I think I told you the other day, next week we're going to be speaking with, and I know you know Jimmy Peretta. He's got an incredible story as well. So, Derek, thank you so much for your time, man. I look forward to meeting you up in Washington. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to go because of this stupid COVID stuff, but I think it'd be worth us to go there and meet with you. And so there's a reminder, folks, August 27th, rally outside the Chinese Embassy in Washington, D.C. We'll be telling you more about that as time progresses. Derek, thanks again, my friend. Look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you for everything you're doing, Mark. Have a great night, buddy.
And you too, my friend. All right, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. If we can help you in any way, recoveringhope.org, email, contact, smoke signals, whatever you want to do, but we're here to help. Thank you very much. Good night, and God bless.